Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Try Time podcast. I'm Callum,
No,
and this is episode 21, where we are going to be doing the Championship preview, part 2. Where last week we went over all the signings and outgoings at every Championship club. This week we're going to be sort of putting that knowledge together and doing our league table prediction for all 14 teams,
yeah,
which is
not
going to be
much.
tough.
I still don't have any.
Matt's on the limited knowledge of the Championship. I would like to say I know my Championship, that sort of thing.
Oh, if any
It's
of
going
you
to be
have any
interesting.
complaints about where I put you at this table, the most likely answer is because I've no idea which is why you're there. I pulled the number out of a hat. So, this hasn't got any of the thought of, oh, I've seen 11th to it. This is literally just, why not? You can go there.
Yeah, so I reckon we pretty much get into it, but before we do, if you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe, please like, comment, all that sort of good stuff.
Put the
If you're
bell
listening
on.
to us, put the bell on. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, follow us on them platforms, subscribe, whatever it is. Leave a review as well on Apple Podcasts, as that does help the podcast grow.
Providing it's a good one. If you want to talk shit about us, don't bother.
Yeah, leave that to Facebook comment sections, that's what we usually get.
Especially in
Right,
Featherstone.
so-
Maybe the haters are getting this week.
They'll
Who
love it.
knows?
The lovers really do, Featherstone fans. Right,
Well, the
anyway.
big fellas do.
First place, we're going to go from 1st to 14th, because I think the interesting bit is actually down at the bottom as well. I think the top sort of 6 or 7 are.
Yeah, it's going to be
Kind of.
interesting. We've kind of got the elite level and then screen class, and then just somewhere in the middle. Could be
Who's in
worse.
first
You
place
could
for
be
you?
the peasant league. First place, I've got the French boy.
Toulouse.
Yes.
And why is that? Go on.
They're one of the few teams which I actually feel like I know how to play us off, which is a good start. Yeah, this is a very strong squad. Big car, good set of backs. They've probably strengthened the most out of anyone I'd argue in the championship, so I think they're right up there, if not. And I think they would have been high up on the favourites last year as well. So, yeah, I've actually become the third French side ever to play Super League, I believe.
Interesting. So, I also have gone with Toulouse, which I sort of reiterate what you've said.
Oh, do I sound intelligent? Good stuff.
Last season, they had one of the strongest squads, and now they've definitely got the strongest squad. On paper, anyway, with the signings they've made, they've strengthened a lot. And like I said last week, they might go unbeaten. You just don't know. It's a hard league as a championship to go unbeaten.
Toulouse are going to make everyone their feature guy, but that's my one line for this podcast.
Just the signings of it, it's unreal, really, that the team they're going to have. And I think they're going to, whether they actually get the promotion through the top 6 playoffs, I don't know. I don't think I could call that yet, because that all comes down to form around playoff time. But in terms of the season, I honestly see them absolutely dominating, to be honest. So yeah, I've got them at first. I don't think there's much more to say about Toulouse, just dominant.
Yeah, I still think the league leaders should just go up and then we have to play off the second team, but whatever. That's an argument for another podcast.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Let's move on to second then. Who have you got in P2?
So I've got the York City Knights.
Interesting. Because I've got our favourite fans in the whole of the league.
Oh, not Fev.
Featherstone.
Not Fev in second.
I've got Fev in second.
No, I'm joking. Go on, why have you got Fev in second before I get into yours?
Because this is one of these where it's a bit like, why not? They're always up there. I would say the squad has got stronger actually this year. Particularly if some of their new losses club. That could be key. We know what happens when they get on with for. Look at the last season that actually finished in the championship. And don't let them stop reminding you that they should have been the team that went up because they were the ones that lost to Toronto and their fraudulent money. They like to tell us that. I don't want them to forget it going into this season either. And if they don't get second, then the big fellas are going round.
Right, so I completely get that, and I think it's a good pick. So I've gone with York because I had a strong squad last year, definitely strengthened, and there's some youth that's kind of come in there, but it's the experience from the like sort of Wakey lads that they've got, you know,
Cuthbert.
Yeah, Cuthbo as well. I'm going to get to that Cuthbo, but obviously like Ben Jones, Bishop, Atkins. Yeah, you might not think they're the best players at Super League level, but in a championship season, the experience is more than anything, and just the know-how. They like Cuthbertson's a player who plays a load of minutes in Super League. I think he'll do 4 matches in Championship this season. Like I guarantee it. Unless they're blowing teams away, then he'll just get brought off to rest. And I think his offload game, especially, it's going to be such a trouble.
I'd argue that he won't do a full match in the Championship for that very reason. Things have had more of an impact coming on for 25 minutes.
Yeah, potentially, yeah. But
we'll see.
In the big games, when it comes down to it, like, you know, if it's a playoff £1 million game, I argue that he potentially plays 80 minutes if you need him to, and he can do it. Is what I'm saying.
He'd be capable of doing it if he needed to. It gives you the option whether you want him to do that or not, rather than he has to come off after that many minutes.
Yeah, definitely. But I think I imagine you've got him quite high as well for similar reasons.
We'll have to find out, won't you?
Solid. Yeah. So who's your third team then?
We're down for the Southerners.
London, really?
London.
That's interesting. Go on, I'll let you explain.
2 words, Jared Samuel.
Really?
Yes.
Is that the impact you think he's going to have?
I think it's the entire reason that they got him relegated back to Super League in the first place, and if they kept hold of him, they would not have got relegated.
That's fair, and I do see that. I think that's interesting. I've got London obviously not in this spot. I've gone with Fev. So for Fev, I don't want to say too much because obviously it's essentially what Matt's just said. I just think York will finish a bit higher. That'll be close. There'll be a few points between them. Toulouse will be way up in my league. York, Fev, and a couple of teams below them will be battling for that sort of 2nd, 3rd, 4th sort of positions. So in terms of Fev, solid squad like we've said. They always do well. It's a hard place to go. They always travel well. You know what it is with Fev. So London, you think that that Samut's going to almost carry him?
I think that's going to give them that spark that if they get in the right form and it all clicks, I don't think they know what they're going to do, let alone the opposition know how they're going to stop it.
Yeah, 100%. I do get that. Completely get that. And I think I want to reiterate. I think I'll reiterate more when I say where London are, why I don't have them in 3rd, but why I also appreciate your pick from. So I think it's a solid pick at 3rd for London.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. In 4th
Who have
place.
you got? Gone 4th place for you.
I've got your 2nd place to York City Knights.
York. Interesting.
I don't really want to add much onto what you've said, because you've overlooked Kieran Dixon, which I think is a crime.
Oh, I think actually, I'll get more to Kieran Dixon when I speak about London, if anything. You know how much.
Oh, in terms of how much of a loss it's going to be. Yeah, and the good thing is, this will not be decided by who's playing where at Wembley. So he'll be fine. He won't have PTSD. So they'll feel York will be fine. In my opinion.
So I've gone for the very definitely going to be called out for being biased by Matt, but I have gone for the Bulls.
In the top 4.
And I'll explain it. I think realistically, the team's much stronger than last year, and last year we looked good. And I think
played 5 games.
Yeah, but hear me out. And his record last year wasn't amazing. But what I saw from obviously watching Bradford closer than any other team is how Kia seems to have got a group of players that actually want to play. For example, the year before that, we had probably on paper when we beat you in the cup, we had one of the better teams in the championship, and we didn't even make the top 5.
So your reason for putting Bradford 4th is because they are the only place in the world that has anyone called Kia who can unite a group of people at the moment.
No. Because I've seen last season, we lost last season to London and Fev both at home, but in games that on another day we could have won, and I saw progress, and now we've got Bruffin as well alongside Lily, who's another year older, another year experienced and better. Players that are now better as young players that have come through, I think are ready now to do this push. We've got a better pack than we had last year.
I don't think your youngsters are going to be a year better because they've had so little game time.
Potentially, but it's all about life experience as well, and I think a player that...
Oh yeah, they might have bought a house. That's suddenly going to mean they can kick a 40-20.
No, you don't get what I mean. I mean, like, when you're a year older, you are just a more mature of a person. I feel like what I'm saying is essentially, I think they're buying into what Kia is putting down. I think I personally would not put them outside top six. I've put them in fourth, and you'll see people will say, arguably the team people will argue with me about is London, and I'll explain why I've got London below Bradford on here, because I do not think Bradford are going to get promoted this season.
Do you want me to move on to some sanity after we just heard Bradford are a top 14?
Go on.
Right, fifth place I've got Bradford.
Right, yeah, fair enough. I expect that's fine, because for me, Bradford have got to be in the top 5. But I get you've put.
I nearly put them 6th, but whatever. Yeah, I don't think I've got any more to add up. I think you are the rest of it and how much these players would have developed, even they haven't played for over 12 months nearly.
Yeah, but it's almost how they've developed from the year before to last season.
If we compare them from the start of 2019, yes, they will be better. But I do think and this is going to be across the division, the young players' development will have been soon as a result of not playing last year. Particularly in terms of a golden class to the Super League counterpart.
Yeah, potentially. Anyway, so London fans, this is what you'll have been waiting for, the explanation. So I've got London in 5th, still top 5. So like you said, Samet, great signing. You know what he's going to give you at London, and he's an opposition he's a defender's nightmare, isn't he? Let's be honest, but. The outgoings, we've already spoke about Dixon. The biggest one, easily, and Dixon's a top player, and so as Morgan Smith, etc. Top players, but the biggest one for me has got to be Eddie Baye. What he has given them for the last sort of 4 or 5 years is unreal. In Super League, he was arguably the best player in that season doing Super League, and that's why he's got himself a contract at Wake.
Well, if London don't get up, he might be playing against him next year.
Oh, with Wakey coming down?
Yeah, we're both called that, so if you haven't seen us call that, then go check out our Super League predictions thingy. I can't remember what number 3 we got, but what was it, 2?
It was
just go check them all out.
Episode 18. I'll put there's a card up in top corner for you anyway, guys, so click on that after you've watched this video. So, yeah, London, I just feel like the losses are going to be too much, especially in the pack as well. It's not like they haven't got a quality team. They have. I just think over the course of a season, they'll pick up more losses because that sort of core squad they had, I think, has dwindled down a bit. Come playoff time, it wouldn't surprise me if they go and win it all. It honestly wouldn't. But in terms of the longevity of the season, putting them in 5th.
Then I think it's more likely to go the other way. I think we'll start out strong, but perhaps fade a little towards but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see, mate. So, who have you got in 6th?
This is an interesting one, and this is where I think it gets a bit more controversial, perhaps. I've got Wigan in 6th.
Alright, interesting. Go on.
I think their team is strengthened, they're building about being back towards Super League. There's the right vision there. And I think that's ultimately go a long way to carry them through that ambition and desire to get back to Super League, particularly compared to some of the teams around them. I imagine you may have Sheffield or Halifax in around this part who, I don't know, I feel like it's a real club job here. Particularly Sheffield's gave less ambition.
Maybe, yeah. I get what you mean.
There's some big losses at Weakness, don't get me wrong, but I think they have replaced them better than what a lot of clubs have in the division. Yeah, that's my pick. I think Wigan's will just get a chance with top 6.
Yeah, solid pick. So for mine, I have gone with one of the teams you mentioned there. I've gone with Halifax.
Oh, interesting. I was actually expecting Sheffield more though.
No. When I get to Sheffield, I'll speak why they're not in my top 6. But Halifax, I think, going all the right as a club, they're going in the right direction. Kind of. I guess they kind of just over the last couple of seasons just kind of like dwindled out in the sort of. There was in the league, they just wasn't as good as they were.
So by getting rid of Scott Morrell, this is the ticket to the top 6, you think?
No, I've just as a club, they've got there's a rebranding there. The Panthers, it's feel good. They've signed really well as they went over last week, and not really lost many people. Morrell, people say getting in a fresh set of legs in that position is probably going to be beneficial. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I just think they've got that excitement factor about them. I think they'll be a good watch. And honestly, I think top 6, like I admit, we can go over these next few positions. It's all going to be in mine anyway. It's going to be a race for this top 6, this 6th spot.
No,
I think the top 5 will be a good few points ahead of them. I think it's going to be a battle. It's going to be close. And I've just got Halifax to edge it out. They usually play well in big games as well. You know, like I look back at like the season. The season before last, you know, against Bradford, they beat us in a quality game. One of best championship.
They couldn't do it against St Helens though. That were a big game.
Yeah, true. But but let's be honest. What did they expect?
What, Steve Tyler versus Lachlan Coote or whatever we were talking. It's not much of a. It's a bit of a David v Goliath, isn't it? But
yeah, but even in that game against Bradford in the match before that, after we just beat you, and as a Bradford fan, I was there, and Halifax were amazing, and they always seem to do well on that big stage in them big games. So I've got them in 6th anyway. Quality squad.
So if they can do it on the biggest stage of all, could they actually get converted? Or is that a bridge too far, do you reckon?
You know what? If they pick up that right form, then definitely. And it all does come down to them late season signings. If them late season signings coming into, you know, last half of season when, you know, some older, more experienced players come available and people are snapping them up, that sort of thing. That's what it'll come down to, I think. But yeah, top 6 for me. Who's your 7th? Who's just missing out for you?
Yeah, I think there's probably a bit left to say on some of these teams now, but in 7th I've got Sheffield.
Alright, yeah.
I
imagine you've probably got more to say about why you haven't got Halifax at 7th rather than how you've got Sheffield there.
No, actually. I think it's the other way around. I think Halifax has a lot of change in the key personnel this year, particularly in the half, so that might take a good half season to play. Maybe even a full year, potentially, depending on how much of a shift in terms of playing style it is. Which, yeah, they have a bad run form at the start of the year, that could be a bridge too far. Contrast that to Sheffield, who before the whole abandoning of last season and everything, were actually a team that were playing really well in good form, and they're actually on a good pitch this year. We talked about the impact from the fans' point of view, everything at the Doncaster, actually that's something that a better platform to play on than what they had at Wednesday.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, I see that. I definitely see that. That's interesting.
And yeah, if we do get some double headers, we'll put even more atmosphere in that ground, and it's just a bunch of South Yorkshire rivals shouting and putting blackcaps out.
Yeah, I think quality pick at 7th. I'll get on at Sheffield in my pick, but my 7th pick is Widnes, who you had in 6th. Kind of for the same reasons you had them there. I think them and Halifax are going to be going at it basically until last game of the season.
Yeah, that's fair.
For that spot. So, who have you got in 8th?
I haven't surprisingly got Halifax.
Yeah, I feel like this top 8 is pretty set in it, let's be honest.
Yeah,
well,
I think the top 5, 6 to 8, potentially we've got improved. I imagine we might have Sheffield or maybe one other team here. But
yeah, well, I'll get on.
Yeah, I don't think if there is that much to add in Halifax. I just think they perhaps have more hopes and changes in the other two, and that could, with what damages their chance at the start of the year, they'll probably recover by the end of the season. They're better than particularly Sheffield, probably Widnes, but perhaps too far behind to make much of a great charge. But I don't think I've got any more to add on that. So who have you got from 8?
So we're talking about a set top 8, and
I know exactly who you've gone for the team. I think I've got them now.
I've dwindled. We'll see. I've gone for Swinton.
Okay, it's not the team I've got in 9.
Alright, that's interesting. So I've gone with Swinton generally because the progress they've made over the last sort of 3-4 seasons, I think is really good.
Apart from on kick design.
In terms of at home, I think they have really good home form, that sort of thing. Solid. They seem to like pick up the young players that other clubs sort of abandon, and they kind of like make them good in a weird way, make them better. It works. They've got a solid squad down there as well. You know, they haven't really lost many.
If they find a couple more Matty Ashtons, they definitely will be challenging this group.
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't necessarily. I think they're the sort of wild card team that people like you don't have them in your like top 9 or whatever. I think they're my kind of like wild card. There's going to be one team in there that pushes this top 6.
Yes, and
That's you would expect.
That's probably why I've got a 9 for mine and stuff like that. But yeah,
Well,
can the boys out of Lost Caravans do well, or will the play like Chipfit? We'll wait and see.
Go on, who's 9th for you?
The new boys.
Newcastle, really?
The 2 now. Yeah.
Go on, explain.
They're coming up with a huge financial backing, have made a lot of improvements to that squad, and I think they're coming in with the side that they want to instantly hit the ground running with the likes of the mid-table sides, Widnes, Halifax, Sheffield. These guys have got the biggest squad talking about anyone in the league, and even when they should have in theory dominated the league, it didn't always click, and that's got to be a worry for them again. But
yeah,
I don't know, there's enough talent there that will come through and they'll have a chance. A lot of the lower end championship sides, and actually train really well in pre-season, get a good system working. I don't see how they couldn't give us a price package that pushes this stuff out.
Yeah, completely. I think that's a really good argument for Newcastle. I think what you've said about all the players have brought in and that sort of thing. At the end of the day, it's probably the biggest squad turnover in all 3 English leagues, isn't it? Really. So
probably, yeah.
if it clicks, then it's going to be quality for them. Completely. Yeah. So that's who you've got in 9th. So I have got Sheffield in 9th, who obviously you have got higher up than that already.
Yeah,
I've already touched a lot on Sheffield. I just think the squad's kind of got worse. I don't think they've improved much. I think they're a team that's kind of in that sort of spot where they're gonna need something to really push them out. I think they've definitely got weaker than they were a couple of seasons ago.
I think this is going to be an interesting argument. This is the on-paper talent versus sport chemistry.
Yeah, potentially.
And I think you valued perhaps the on-paper talent a little bit more, whereas I've got the other way. And I think the team chemistry is going to be more crucial after having basically 18 months since the last had a proper good run of games.
Yeah, but also I feel like last season I didn't predict much for Sheffield, so I don't know. At the end of the day,
you're consistent. I'll give you that.
9th is not a bad position necessarily for Sheffield if they're challenging for that top 6, which I think they will be.
No, and to be fair, what's it matter? Finish 97th, they ain't getting the playoffs, which they get. So,
yeah, they're going to be safe, 100% safe
yeah.
for me. So,
who rounds out the top 10 for you then?
For me, I've gone with a surprise package. You've probably got them to go down,
Go
but I've gone with Whitehaven.
Right, okay.
Right, and I've got an explanation for it. I'll let you say yours first. Go on, I'll let you say yours.
Okay, well, I've got Sweden. The reasons you predicted them to perhaps be the challenger team. So I don't really have any more to add on that other than Caravans. But...
Right, fair enough. So, Whitehaven, the reason why I've gone with these is, like we said last week, they've signed over a couple of these sort of younger Aussie boys. And I think anyway they had a solid squad. They brought McNally in, and they had a squad capable of not going down last season if it had played out. They've experienced in the squad a bit, and this Australian youth a bit of flair. And I feel like they just can be a surprise team that I kind of like. I don't think they're going to be that close to Sheffield, but I think they're going to be away from the ones below them. In a way, I think they're just going to shock a lot of teams, have that little bit of a spark, which. When people are usually off up to Whitehaven, they think, we're just going to have to dig deep here, get through as sets, and use as a bit of extra quality to get through them. They're going to want to drag us into a bit of a fight, and I think it's going to be a different sort of Whitehaven team. And I'm backing them. It could not work. It could work with all these young Aussies coming in. I'm backing Whitehaven. Why not?
Okay. Interesting.
Well, I'm interested to see where you have them. It's probably at bottom of the table, isn't it? But
I'll give you a clue now. It's not.
Alright. Right, well.
But I'll tell you it's not 11 because that's Batley Bulldogs.
Batley. Right, go on, explain.
Um, I don't too much to say about Batley, to be honest. They are a championship stable. I don't think particularly got the works to the point where they're going to go down. They're usually pretty solid at home. I just think when you look at a few years ago, they were actually in the middle eight and what fourth in Grace this is.
Yeah, true. That was a bit of an overachievement, though, I do think.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, but yeah, I think they have to stand back over. I think they'll be safe, but I don't think they're going to particularly struggle. The team I've mentioned already. This is one of those where you kind of there because I've just decided you are.
Yeah, I get you. I think this is when that's why I kind of put Whitehaven high, because I think when you get down to this, it's like you can make arguments for any team, so why not have a bit of fun with it? That's what I thought. So, but my 11th team is a team that you had up in 9th. It's Newcastle, and the reason why I don't have them, up there, like I guess you had them ahead of like sort of Swinton and Whitehaven, who I have actually ahead of Newcastle, is because yes, they've brought in all this young talent, sort of young drop off some Super League Championship clubs who are going to be quality players in this team. What I'm thinking is now there is some experience in that squad. It'd be a lie to say there's not, but some of these players haven't had a full run in some teams. Like I say, Jake Shorrocks, he's been in and around that Wigan team for years, out on loan. He's going to come into a championship, which is a tough league. That the championship is a tough league. Like
he's going to come in with a point to prove.
Yeah, potentially, but at the end of the day, you've got all these players just coming in at once, and you already said before it can be about team chemistry. So with this team, I've kind of gone down that route of they're going to be exciting, and I think give me this next year, I'd predict them to be pushing top 6. But I think this year is going to be a settling season. They're not going to be going down or anything like that, but they're just going to sort of solidify themselves as top championship players. Shorrocks is going to struggle coming up against some of the tough, hard. Look at some of them top teams in Championship, the half combinations there. Toulouse's experience, that pack at Toulouse.
Shorrocks is going to struggle against the physically athletic top 6, but probably a lot of the become a prop forward by having an extra kind of players in the bottom half.
Yeah, definitely, and they're the battles it's gonna come down to. But I think Newcastle are one of them teams where on the day they probably would be one of the teams I'd be like, on the day they'll probably beat Toulouse just because they'll just start chucking ball about and playing a bit of risk-free rugby. Do you know what I mean? Like they're that sort of team. Whereas they'll probably lose to Oldham or something. Like it's one of they're going to be one of them teams where you just don't know what's going to happen.
I'm thinking more they could probably school Toulouse on their own backyard and go to France and come out with 60 points worse. But
maybe we'll have to wait and see, mate.
I'm
looking forward to seeing this Newcastle team though. But yeah, I've got them down in 11th. So if you got in 12th, just avoiding the bottom 2 drop.
Well, I've got the Cumbrian outfit, Whitehaven.
Right, that's interesting because that does mean that actually, my 12th team, which I will say now, I kind of did just spoil it, is Batley, meaning that we have the same bottom 2.
Right, okay, this is interesting.
Which is interesting. So,
I think Whitehaven have made some decent acquisitions like you touched on. And also, it's a pretty tough place to go play rugby this Cumbria. And
exactly, yeah, definitely.
I mean, you saw recently with Bangor how it was their home form that kind of made it look like they might just stay in the championship a little while longer.
Yeah, it's just Cumbria's an hard place to go in general, isn't it?
Yeah, from for rugby purposes, yes.
Well, I mean, it's not from like sort of Leeds, Bradford, whereabouts we are. It's not exactly best. Well, it's a nice drive up there.
I was going to say there's some nice back roads. If you've got a bit of open road, you can fling it in a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough of that. I don't think we're doing that on the team coach, but
yeah, definitely not.
But yeah, I think I don't have much more to say. I think it's a somewhat exciting squad, and their home form is probably going to be a little better than what we've got as our bottom 2. Anything to add on Batley, or should we jump into the relegation zone?
With Batley, I mean, similar to you, they've just a team out of the bottom sort of 4, I think 4, 3, whatever. It's hard to decide who's going to go down. You can make arguments for each team staying up. Batley, I think they have actually added some good players as well and replaced players well, that sort of thing. So now it's a harder place to go, I would argue, than the bottom 2 here. and I think that's what it ultimately comes down to. Teams hate playing Batley, especially if it's on a muddy day. They're that sort of team that works hard. So I go on. That's why the 12th, but 13th and 14th, right? So who have you got 13th? Who's going down anyway, but they're not going down in the wooden spoon position?
Well, to be quite honest, I do not know what to separate these two with. So my logic is extremely terrible. I've got Oldham in 13.
Alright, interesting.
Yeah.
So I guess
they just are. I prefer their kit. Literally, I could not decide what order to put these two in, so I had to think of something, and that's why I came up with it. Why not?
That's interesting. But a lot of people will have Oldham in the bottom two, which in a way, like I will say, I've got Dewsbury in 13th and Oldham in 14th, so I've actually got Oldham getting the wooden spoon. But I almost think that's unfair. I feel bad because I feel like they've signed well, but I just think the base squad before them signings isn't good enough. I'm interested with you putting Dewsbury at bottom, but again, they haven't strengthened. I'm assuming that's why they haven't strengthened.
They haven't strengthened, and they weren't exactly cracking in the first place, and that was famous Dewsbury fans.
Yeah, I just think Dewsbury will just find it a bit difficult. I think some of these other teams have got a bit more about them. I think it'll be close, and I do think it's going to be a weird season in that who's going to go down. It's not your usual, like arguably the few teams who have come, like you look at Newcastle, a team that's come into the league. Usually you'd expect them to be among that, and I don't feel like they are because of the signings they've made.
I mean, the only saving grace for Dewsbury, in my opinion, have not quite got them bottom. They will beat the non-starters of Toronto.
Well, that's a given, isn't it?
Yeah, interesting news about the Canadian CCRL one, which is probably one that we will touch on in another video. That, of course, the day that we're filming this has been announced. I've not actually had too much of a look into it yet, so I haven't going to make much of a comment on it now. I'll wait till I've bothered to educate myself, but
yeah, potentially a future sort of pod subject, and that's what we want you guys as well, because this is Rounded Uppers table. So first of all, let us know what you think of it. Comment down below. What's your championship table look like? Who's winning the £1 million game to go up? All that sort of jazz.
Who's going to be Callum's fake profile that has Bradford in first?
Right, but other than that, so this sort of championship video aside, in terms of the general podcast, obviously going forward, we're going to be the podcasts are going to change. Means that it's going to be into the actual season, so we're going to be reviewing the games for the weekend, talking about talking points, that sort of thing.
We might be back in the studio as well at some point this year, which cue the canned oozing from the fake audience. That will be a very nice return.
Yeah, so what we want you guys basically is send us some subjects that you want us to speak about. Do you want us to speak about who you think Warrington should replace Steve Price with? That's one that we've had a suggestion from a fan.
Is that not coming? Is that this Saturday's video?
That's coming this Saturday, although I can guarantee that they're going to announce an appointment on Friday as we record the video, probably on
We're
Thursday
recording
night.
This on Monday, recording that like I said on Thursday, so if Warrington wants a bit complete asses and screw our video ideas over, then please send your hate mail to their office accordingly. Tell them I'll get Featherstone's big fellas in.
Yeah, give us some subjects, that sort of thing. Just anything like that you want to hear us speak about. And also keep up the support as well. We love that when you guys like messaging us and giving us support and commenting on us stuff. Even if it's some sort of critical, like you don't like Matt's pick of Hull FC in 11th, but having a bit of banter with it, that's what it's all about.
Oh, what did we have from our new best friends on their fan group last time round? There was some crackers on there, weren't there?
Yeah, but then we also had comments from Fair fans who are like, it is like.
Oh yeah, most of you are sound.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's just like our opinions don't necessarily matter to you and everything like that. It's just a bit of a joke. That's what everyone's here for. We're not here to offend everyone. We're just giving us some of us opinions on games and that sort of thing. And if you don't you know what I mean? I know there's a lot of people who have different opinions but enjoy listening and having a discussion about it. That sort of thing. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
So keep up the support, please, guys. And like I said earlier on, if you didn't catch me, on the audio platform, subscribe, leave reviews, that sort of thing, Spotify, Apple.
They'll have all turned off after you're waffling now. If you have listened to him waffling for that long and not subscribed, why not? Clearly, if the long haul, you'd have hit the truth.
Yeah, I'm going to say, if you listen to 35 minutes of Matt trying make up some sort of championship prediction.
Oh, I'm just happy with bitch. Make everyone their bitch guy, but that's made my podcast. Is that?
Oh dear. Right, I think we're going to end it.
Yeah, that's what I'm signing out on.
Yeah, Saturday is going to be the video about who should replace Steve Price at Warrington. Next week's podcast, we're going to just do a one-part on League One, some of the highlights in terms of the signings, and a rough prediction of the league table.
I know even less about League One. This is going to be a disaster. West Wales to finish top, yeah?
You know, a lot of people are predicting that actually,
Oh,
so
God.
it's going to be interesting.
Right, on that note, we'll see you for that next time, and if not on Saturday.
Yeah, see you later, guys.
Bye.